Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
I think it's photography have two functions. One is to record the history and the moment or the present moment, but it will turn into history. So it's a recording. The second function is art. So people use photography to express their artistic understanding or interpretation of the world. I think that's the main functions of photos.
Great. Okay. Thank you. So should I call you Tong Ge, or how would you say it?
Tong Ge, yeah.
Tong Ge.
You got it, Tong
Tong
Ge.
Ge. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tong
Yeah.
Ge, it's really good to meet you. Welcome to the podcast. Somehow you and I will get to...
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Somehow we're going to get to the question of, if life really is a gift, how do we make every second count, right? It's like, how do you spend your time? How do you bring meaning, find meaning, create meaning? And the images, I haven't looked at them. I don't know the sequence. We'll just have to go through it and then learn about your work.
Okay.
So the one that I have is, okay, so it's a great photo. It's a photo of you in a wearing like what looks like a salsa dance, like it's like a salsa dress. It's like
It's a dance competition.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
dance competition. Nice. Okay, so you're wearing
Ballroom dance competition.
ballroom dance.
Yeah.
It's a very
Yeah.
sexy photo, actually. So it's you're in a building. It's a little bit. It's a photo of a photo. The date says 96, maybe November 9th. You're wearing
Yeah.
this red and black dress. Your right hand is kind of holding up one side of the dress, and you're spinning. You're mid-step. The ballroom is behind you. You can see that it's a wooden floor. Yeah, I don't know if the lights are kind of strange. There's some sign on the wall that says something case. I don't know, case.
Yeah, it's a showcase. It's a ballroom dancing showcase. Yeah.
Nice. And so, yeah, you're in mid-step. So, Tong Ge, why are we here? What is this all about?
Well, when we're talking about life is a gift and spend every moment of it, enjoy or create meaning of it. I wanted to be a dancer when I was a child. When I was about 4 or 5 years old, I wanted to be a dancer. But our family live in a small town. It's a university town, so it's away from the big cities. And there was no opportunity, no dance school, just simply no opportunity to learn dance. So, however, when I was 4 years old, the Cultural Revolution in China started. So there's lots of amateur dance troops. They travel from place to place. They perform this revolutionary or loyalty dance, which is not professional dance, but I still enjoyed it tremendously. However, that dream never come true. First of all, there's no professional training opportunities. Second, when I went to school, I was too tall. I was one height taller of all my classmates. So when they when they have a dance, dancers selected for amateur performance in school, I'm out.
Oh,
I will help them to design the dance for my classmates, but I was excluded because of my height. So that dream has never come true. So when I was in my 30s in Canada, all of a sudden I found out there's ballroom dancing studios in the city. There's more than one. I said, okay, now I got to do this. Doesn't matter. I won't be professional, never will, but I enjoyed it tremendously. So that's the reason I entered the ballroom dancing learn it for a few years and enter some amateur competitions. That was my story.
I love it. Okay. Are you still dancing or?
No.
Okay, so I love the idea that I mean, first of all, the fact that you were 4 years old during the Cultural Revolution in China. Which city in China?
It's a small town called, well, the name changed over the time. So when I was a child, the place called Wugong, which is 90 kilometers away from Xi'an. Xi'an is this big city, has been capitals of China for many dynasties, and the first emperor who united China was buried there. So they dug out this Carter soldiers and horses. So my town is 90 kilometers away from
Oh,
that
okay,
city.
okay. When was the last time you were back in China?
The last time was 2015.
Okay, so you know I'm in Hong Kong, so whew, okay. So, and I'm Canadian, by the way. So,
Oh,
so I grew up in Montreal. Where are you in Canada?
in Calgary right now.
Ah, nice. Okay, yeah. So Calgary has a big music and dance scene. Like it's pretty strong.
They're okay. They're not as good as Toronto and the Vancouver for ballroom dancing because the bigger the city, the more cultural activities. But there's a few dance studios,
Sure.
and there's a group of people who dance all the time. It's like there's a community. Yeah.
So so let's go back to when you were a kid where dance kind of awakened.
Yeah.
And it's funny. So what can you go back to when, if you go to the earliest memories of why dance specifically, obviously it followed you to Canada and then to compete. Yeah. So I mean, like why don't you take us down that journey? Like why, how and why did dance kind of capture you?
Because in the 60s in China, we were not allowed to put makeup on. Like nobody put makeup on. If you put makeup on, you're a bad person. We don't have beautiful clothes. Like we all wear some like a gray and the black and the blue. So there's a term called a mao suit. So it's like a sea of gray. If you went to China way back when, so you don't see beauty. Like in daily life, you just don't see it. Then when the Cultural Revolution started, the Red Guards, the young people, like college students, high school students, they formed their own dance groups. So they do loyalty dance. Loyalty dance is a dance to express your loyalty to Chairman Mao, to the party. So mainly to Chairman Mao. But when they did the loyalty dance, they put makeup on because they would be on the stage, and they would wear like a green uniform and red armband to identify them as Red Guards. So Red Guards is good, and Black class is bad. So they during the Cultural Revolution, people were divided, and basically Chairman Mao tried to use one faction to basically people attacked each other. Believe it or not, all in the name of revolution, all in the name of pledge their loyalty to Chairman Mao and to the party. So, but all of a sudden, not only I see young people with makeup and they will look so beautiful to me, but they were dancing. And every time sometimes it's like our own college students dance or put up the performance. Sometimes it's a dance troupe from somewhere else. But every time in the college, we had a very small theater. The theater simply couldn't hold enough people. It's not enough for all the people. So for some reason, every time my mom took me there, we were always late. We never could have a seat. So she would stand against a window and put me on the windowsill. And she would, use her shoulder and the back to hold me, so I could see the footsteps, the footwork of the dancer.
Oh wow!
So I insisted I want to see the footwork, and then I'll try to learn to mimic these dancers. And my mom, she was pretty proud of me. I remember she'd been telling her neighbors, her friends, said, "Look at this child. How come she wanted to see the footwork of the dancers? Like, imagine what does she think? What did she think?" But I wanted to be a dancer from that time.
Wow, nice.
But Yeah, but my father later became a so-called black class and was put in a cow shed. So basically, he was locked up with all other professors,
Oh
and
wow.
I had to escape my hometown and
Hmm.
went to live with my sister in the mountains, for a
Wow.
year.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. Wow.
yeah.
So your sister was living in the. I mean, your sister was already away from the
My
town, or you both escaped like separately.
No, my sister was she was 16 years older than me, so she was
Okay.
already working. So my mother sent me to live with her just to escape the bullies and abuse from the kids in my neighborhood.
Hmm.
Because once my father was locked up, I become a target
Sure.
of the bully.
That's so wild. That is so crazy. And so, I mean, just to have lived through that. So, when did you end up leaving China? Like, how? Like, what was that journey like?
You know, when Chairman Mao passed away in 1976, the Cultural Revolution ended.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, China started the economic reform and opened its door to the Western world. And the university entrance exam was reinstated before it was stopped for 10 years. So then we had the equal opportunity to go to university. So basically, who can, pass the exam, who would go to university. So I went to university in China for my bachelor's. After that, I worked 3 years in a college where my father taught, and then I applied for graduate school in North America.
Mm.
So I applied for for a whole bunch of schools, and the four of them accepted me.
Oh
Two
wow.
out of four provided a scholarship, and the University of Saskatchewan's um, like a school year start 6 months, one semesters earlier than the US one. So I came to Canada because of that. That's how I.
Wow.
So I was an international student because when the opportunity came, like in China, you never know when they're going
Right.
to be taken away. So you try to grab it as fast as you could. You don't
Hmm.
wait.
Hmm.
Yeah, you take the first opportunity come your way.
That's wild. So, what were you studying?
You mean for my bachelor's, I was majoring in finance and banking. For my
Okay.
master's, I have a master of science in agriculture economics,
Oh wow.
which has
Okay.
nothing to do with art and with
Hmm.
creative work. It's far from.
But it's so funny how your destiny could have taken you to the U.S. I don't know which universities, and then suddenly it's like the first one that pops up is University of Saskatchewan. And for the people who I've never been, I've never, I'm all, what I know about it is, for example, like if you land there in the summer, it's like
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
but I expect that Saskatchewan winters are much tougher than the winters in Xi'an.
yeah. The Saskatoon winter can be as cold as minus 50,
Yep.
50.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty very cold.
That's a serious culture
Yeah,
shock.
yeah. But I was happy.
Okay. Well, in this photo, okay, so I'm looking at this photo. It's it's on the website. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be up there, and it's so great. Like you're in the middle of. So where's your? Oh, there is a partner. At first, I wasn't sure if there was a partner, but
Yeah, I just blocked him completely.
perfectly. Like it's perfect. Like
Perfectly.
you really have to look. And you're just like, oh wait a second, there is a guy standing behind you in a maybe a suit or tie. Okay, I love it. I love it. Okay, well you're definitely it's a great shot. It's a great shot. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Well, ballroom dancing, you need a partner.
Of course, of course. And what
Yeah,
kind of dance was this particular one?
I think it was a tango.
A tango. Very nice. Okay.
Yeah, tango is my first love
Ah, nice.
among
Great.
dances. Yeah,
So the one that I have is of you standing by some fence, like some fences outside.
yeah,
There's like a body of water, so you're leaning
yeah,
against the fence.
yeah,
Behind you is a body of water, and it's a very flat sort of plain. And far, far, far in the background, you can just see some buildings. Could be silos, but it could be like a city. It looks like it's, I don't know if it's maybe June, maybe August. Doesn't look like it's very hot because you're wearing a kind of a cheongsam shirt or just the top of a, yeah, okay. And you're
Chinese
holding
traditional.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're holding a book. Can't see the book very well, but you're holding up a book. Yeah, so take it away. What is this?
Well, this photo was taken in Calgary, just 1 block from my house.
Oh, wow.
There's a river called the Bow River, and that's a major river runs through the city. The book is my first novel, so the title is The House Filler. So the reason I dressed up in traditional Chinese clothes because of the book. That is
Okay.
more related. Yeah, that's for a magazine that they want to write, announce the news. So they need each author submit a photo. That was the one I submitted.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah.
When was this? When was the book released?
Last October.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's been a year.
Yeah, it's been a year. You're right.
Well, congratulations. Okay, so you wanted to be a dancer, and so you eventually landed in Canada, took up dancing. At some level, you wanted to be an author, so you wrote a book.
I wanted to be an author, a writer, since I was in junior high.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and what language is the book written in? English?
English, yeah.
Okay. Has it been translated to Chinese?
I'm doing that right now.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So the book's been out. What is the book about?
It is based on my grandmother's story. So the time span covers from 1920 to 1966. The protagonist, the Golden Phoenix, is based on my grandmother.
Okay. And is it like is it a nonfiction book? Is it a novel? It is a
Historical fiction.
Okay, so you've always wanted to be a writer. Not always, but you wanted to be a writer from very young. But then what happened that tipped the edge or the ledge or the lever or whatever, the switch that made you finally sit down and start writing?
When I always want to study literature and arts, but when I was choosing the major before I went to university, I wanted to study Chinese literature or journalism, but my parents against. They strongly object.
Mm-hmm.
That was really common back when at the time, because to be a writer or a journalist was considered a dangerous occupation. Yeah. So then I studied finance and banking, and after my graduation, I landed a job in a college, but in the Department of Agriculture Economics. So when I came to Canada, if I want to get a scholarship, I have to choose the same or similar field. I cannot just say, hey, I'm going to learn study arts.
Yeah.
I had no money, no financing, like nothing, no portfolio. So then after I graduate from University of Saskatchewan, then as immigrants, your first priority is find a job and make a living.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was basically doing that until 2004. I always wanted to write my family story, but because English is my second language and it is extremely hard, it's a huge amount of challenge, I didn't believe I could do it. So at the beginning, I was looking for a ghostwriter.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for a ghostwriter online and, put my project up there, and there's some people responded. I remember this gentleman from the US, he basically said, okay, I can do this for you. I need to go to live in your house for a year. You need to pay me room and board and everything, then a flat fee, and then I'll write this for you. But in his response to my email, I found some grammatic mistakes in his writing. And at that moment, I thought I had to do this myself, regardless of how hard. There's nobody else could do it. I have to be the one. I had to be the one to do it.
Amazing.
So that's when I, start to give up the idea of hire somebody else. So I start to go to writing, to take writing courses, read books about creative writing, start to learn and read extensively, and start to write little by little. Yeah.
So my first degree, my bachelor's, is in creative writing, as it happens.
Wow.
So, yeah.
We have more than one thing in common.
Oh, we have many things in common.
Many things in common. Okay.
Yeah. In terms of the book, so why don't you give us a bit of a sense of? I mean, you have this really strong motivation to capture your grandmother's story.
Yeah.
So why don't you, for a listener, convey? I mean, already the fact that you have memories from the Cultural Revolution, that your father was targeted, that these are so deeply, wounding and traumatizing. I mean, it's so strong as your base, early memories.
Yeah.
And yet that part of you isn't the story that you wanted to tell. So what is so why don't you tell us about that about your grandmother and that story of the basically the the elements that really make that story want to come out into the world.
Actually, when I first finished this novel, it is about 3 generations. So from grandmother to mother to daughter, and it was 240,000 words long. So I couldn't find a publisher, and I didn't know why until I ended up with a mentor, and she told me, your novel is too long. You need to divide into 2 or 3 books. So I divide into 3 books. The first book become the house filler. So first book is about the first generation. Second is about second generation. Third is about third generation. So my own story is in the third book. And and the first book follows Golden Phoenix journey through wars and political, 2 wars. One is the Second Sino-Japanese War. The second one was the civil war between communist and the nationalist. And she faced poverty. She was illiterate with bound feet, and after her husband passed away, she couldn't feed her 5 children. Sorry. But the reason the title is the house failure, because she missed the ideal age of foot bending. So her feet was 1 inch too large for an ideal size. So that's one reason she missed the marriage, the ideal marriage age. And also because she was trained as a seamstress, and her father kept her at home because she was the breadwinner. That's why she didn't get married until she was 26. But by the time she was 26, all the young men, they were all married. Because at that time, women got married between 16 and 18. So she ended up marrying a widower. So in Chinese culture, a woman who marries a widower is called a house filler. So she became a house filler, which means like your job is just to fill up the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow,
and
fascinating.
So when she couldn't feed her 5 children, she ended up gave her twin sons to the Red Army just for survival. Survival. And then the Japanese came to her hometown, and her 2 daughters were missing, and during the chaos, and then eventually she found out where they were. But this is a long story. It's about about loyalty, about betrayal, about love, about hate, about lots of things. Vulnerability, about suffering, and about come back, like fight back, about resilience. So it's with a backdrop of the historical events.
Right.
Yeah.
So since it is based on your grandmother, like how much of her story came down to you from I mean, I don't know from her if she was still alive while you were alive, or if it came down to you through your mom, like, or through your dad. Like, I like how did her story fill your childhood, your growing up?
Well, I heard most of her stories from my mother.
Okay.
I only met her once when I was about like 3 years old, 3 or 4. Then she passed away. But my mother was a storyteller. So she'd been telling me her side of family story ever since I remember, like I was a few years old.
Hmm.
And of course, in the process of writing this book, I also interviewed my other relatives to check and to verify or to find out. I know it's a fiction, but the fiction also has to be reasonable, has to be
Sure.
logic. So I did a lot of research as well. For some historical events, I it's based on the research I did. But for lots of Golden Phoenix personal story, it is strictly from her story.
Hmm.
So there's 90% of the book are based on truth, and the other
Yeah.
10% is fiction, fictional.
Well, I think like writing fiction for it to be. I mean, even the most like even fantastical fiction has to have a kernel or seed of some raw truth in there.
That's right.
So okay, so the book's been out for a year. Has can you think of a quick and like a case where somebody reached out to you and said, "Hey, you know what? Your book really moved, like either changed my life or really moved me, or or made a connection that you didn't expect."
Yes, through the reviews I read on Amazon, on Goodreads, there's one person said this is the best book she has ever read. I was flattered. I'm
Wow.
sure there's tons of good books, but that's what she said. And I once hired a freelance editor, and she said that the book changed her life. She didn't
Amazing.
tell me in detail how so, but she said it's really changed her life. And well, lots of Westerners they don't know much about Chinese history during that
Sure.
period of time. And we all know World War II. We know what happened in Europe. We know how American and joined the war. But in Asia, there's not very well. There's lots of book written in Chinese, but
Mm-hmm.
very few are translated into English.
Mm-hmm.
So my Western readers they were always like, holy, we didn't know this. We never
Yeah, no
know.
idea.
Yeah. So I think that in a sense it's pretty it did really good. And also this book is a winner of 2024 Independent Prize Award
Amazing.
for new fiction, and also now it is a finalist for 2024 Canadian Book Club Awards for
Nice.
fiction. The final result will be announced in January, in this coming January.
Amazing. Best of luck, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, so
Thank
we're
you.
gonna have to leave this photo. It's shot because it is Canada and it's I mean Calgary. The sun is off. It's probably afternoon. It could be
Yeah.
morning, but it's probably afternoon, and you it could actually be 9 o'clock at night because the sun sets so late. But okay, we're gonna have to leave this photo and go on to the next. Okay, wow. Okay, great. So this is a photo. Okay, so what it is I don't know who is on a horse, but it's a beautiful horse, and it's
That was me.
somebody that's you. Okay,
Yeah,
horseback
that was me.
riding.
Yeah.
Okay, it's definitely in. It looks like the prairies because it's very flat land. It's very
Yeah.
far in the background you see it looks like farmland, so it's all flat and green, like a mono. Basically, I don't know, could be carrots, potatoes, something. There's a road in the middle with wood fencing, and then there's like the classic sort of white fencing, the corrals around a
Yeah.
track of some sort. The horse is running on or trotting on packed earth. There's no plants; it's just
Yeah.
dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're wearing the helmet, and you're on this beautiful horse, it's quite big. And there you are. You're horseback riding in a beautiful sky above you, lots of clouds, but bright sunny day. So, okay, what is this one?
Well, this was taken just south of Calgary. There's a place called Spruce Meadows, very
Mm-hmm.
famous English like show jumping place. So again, always want to be able to ride horse when I was a child because my father could ride a horse.
Oh wow.
So I saw his picture on the horse. It's always fascinating me, and I just admired him so much. But as I said, in China, I didn't have that chance when I came to Canada. I was too busy with study, with job, and didn't do it until in my late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I broke up with my fiance at the time, and I'm thinking, okay, now I need to give myself a gift. How do I console
Nice.
myself? So I
Nice.
pick up the phone book and start to call the riding schools around the Calgary. At the time, I didn't even know the difference between Western riding and the English riding. I just started to call schools, and this one school said, okay, you can come like tomorrow. I said, really? Yes. So I didn't know until I got there. They were an English riding school, and I had to learn how to jump the
Oh
horse.
wow. Wow.
So I said, okay, it just started that way.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Oh, sorry to hear about your falling off the horse. Are you okay?
Are you saying this to me?
Yeah.
I never fell off a horse.
Oh, someone falling off a horse. Okay, I probably mixed you up with another host there. Sorry, that person falling off the horse.
Okay, no problem. Listen, it's all good.
Okay.
But okay, so have you ever fallen off a horse?
Yeah, 3 times.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's full
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Each time it's got easier. The first time is the hardest time, and I
Sure.
probably broke my tailbone. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Instructor advised me not to take X-ray because she said that it could affect my reproductive system. So I
Wow.
didn't take X-ray, but I think I broke my tailbone. But the second time was not too bad. The third time I was able to hang on the neck of the horse and just dangling there. The horse
Wow.
ran straight to the fence. I thought, okay, I'm going to crash into this fence. But just like my body was like literally 3 inches from the fence, she stopped.
Oh,
Quite fast, amazing.
well, I mean, yeah, obviously the horse was trying to teach you some kind of lesson.
Oh, there's always like a power struggle between you and the horse.
Oh,
Always.
really? Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Why don't you talk
yeah.
about that then? Okay, so what have you learned about okay, so because I haven't spent a long time with horses. I know
Okay.
animals. I've spent a long time with other animals, but what would you say is what is it? What's an important lesson that you learned about like a horse brain, a horse psychology, a horse way of seeing the world?
Um, you have to show him or her that you're the boss. You're the master.
Oh,
The moment she's or he thinks he's a master, you're done. Because strengths like physical strength wise, you can never win a horse. Like
sure.
you can never, yeah. So it's a mental thing. You have to be very firm and very authoritative. And once you give the command, you don't change. You don't like the horse take over. When I first started learning that, I didn't know it. And there's one horse. I think it's this one. Her name is Star. She would, in the wintertime, we ride inside in the
Mm-hmm.
barn, and there's the fences around the arena, and there's the four corners, and she will always, run toward a corner, and then stood there facing the corner and won't move. So she was showing me she was a boss. She could do this to me,
Mm,
and it was really really hard to you can never, if she like you can never turn her away if she decided. So my instructor has been emphasizing, just you just have to use your ring, use your legs, you just have to, the last moment you just have to squeeze her so hard and turn her head so hard, like made her believe there's no any other way, this your way is the way.
mm.
So when I first able to do that, I only need to do that once. Then she gave up. She never abused me anymore. She never took me to the
Okay.
corner. I just stood there, not moving.
That's really, yeah. That's okay. So these are interesting things, right? So for example, with like for example with a cat, you're like,
Yeah,
okay, how am I going to get the cat? How am I going to motivate a cat to do what I want, right? It's
yeah.
much easier with a dog. Much
Okay.
easier with a dog to and then I mean the school of thought that I buy into and I've been with is that it's not about dominance. It's not about it's I mean it's true that some dogs are just so strong-willed and or so that it becomes very difficult to
Hmm.
but generally speaking, most of the dogs that in terms of motivation, I'm more of a dog whisperer. Let's put it that way. But then with a horse, listening to you, it seems like okay. Is it that you first have to kind of convey or show the horse authority or basically dominance? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that world. So and then after that, the horse kind of settles in and kind of goes okay, and then you can have more of a relationship with the horse. Or is it always like a constant like struggle or battle
Oh,
between
it's
the
not a
two?
constant. It's not constant struggle. You only have to do that at the beginning. I tried other ways. You've horses love apples, so you would feed them apple. You have a long talk with them. It doesn't do. You only need to be dominant once and let the horse know you're the boss. Then after that, it's much better. Smooth. I wouldn't say smooth riding, but you become a team,
Hmm.
and your horse will listen to you.
Yeah, my dad was really into riding, and he came to it very late, and he was really into riding. And so, how much riding did you do? Like, are you still riding now?
Oh no, I did it for 5 years.
Okay.
And then I had a ankle problem. Like I still have tendinitis for on my both ankles, and it will become extremely painful.
Okay. How can we talk about horseback riding in a more kind of conceptual or metaphorical way that conveys like a deeper level, right? So or maybe it's just something fun to do. Like, of all the things we could be talking about, clearly this is an important part of what you think is beautiful about life, right? So
Yeah.
why don't you talk about that? Like, why is horseback riding so special?
Well, I, as I said, I started when my boyfriend left me. It
Mm-hmm.
was a very hard time.
Mm-hmm.
So I found comfort with a horse, with horses. When you go to a riding school, you ride different horses. You just don't ride. You don't just ride one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just felt sometimes animals are more trustworthy than humans.
Mm-hmm.
They don't trick you. They don't betray you. They don't, right? And I think they're smarter than we give them credit for. I think it doesn't matter if it's a horse or dog or cats. Just
Mm-hmm.
because they can't speak, it doesn't mean they don't know nothing like anything. If you treat them right with respect, and they will respect you. It's just a very fulfilling, very comforting relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
If not because of my injury, my ankles, I would probably would ride for more years, like longer time, for more years. But I had to stop.
Did the horseback riding and the dance overlap?
No, it didn't.
Oh.
I stopped the ballroom dancing and then then started the horseback riding. And also, I think when I say respect, it's not just a general term because when you go to an English riding school, they name their horses. So every horse has a name, and everyone has a personality. It's very interesting, very fascinating. And the students, they love to bring like treats to the horse, apples, carrots, and then somehow those horses are smarter than like there's a ranch I went to just for trail back riding. I was
Mm-hmm.
so surprised to say, first of all, the horse, they don't have the individual names. Second, you just tie them to a pole, like they don't give them space,
Oh.
and they don't take care of them the same way as this English riding school to look after their horses. So then those horses looks like pretty dumb, really, like pretty dumb. Like I think horses are horses. I think it depends on how you treat them, how you train them, how you communicate with them.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting when I realized that no, not all the horses are treated equally, and that they're not responded equally.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess maybe kind of like people. If you give
people. Yeah.
Give a horse the opportunity and a rich sort of world to live in, then of course the horse is going to maybe be a much more interesting being.
Yeah, they become like they start to show their potentials. They're show their smartness. They'll show their personalities. It's very interesting.
Okay, so this is a photo of a book cover. You could. It's so the color of the main image is like a peach color, and then overlaid on top of that is in a darker kind of peach. Could be trees, could be rocks, could be waterfall. I think it's like a female figure standing. Actually, no. There's a girl kind of in a tree. And then on top of it, well, at the top, which I assume is the name, is in red characters. And then the author is in red characters. And then in black characters, the strongest black characters, there are 4 black characters. Again, in Chinese, I don't read Chinese. And there's a bunch of there's a little bit of writing in there as well. So, okay, why are we finishing with this particular image?
This is a book written by a Chinese author in Qing Dynasty. The title translated into English is The Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio, or it also translates into The Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio. So this author, he spent 40 years and wrote almost 500 short stories. It's mainly about, it's a fantasy, it's horror, it's about ghosts, fox spirits. It's really beautifully written and become a classic, and for Chinese. Just before yesterday, because I checked about this before, the original English translation, they only translated a small portion, less than 25% of the book. Because the book was also written in classic Chinese, which is not quite modern Chinese. So it has to be very challenging for English-speaking people to translate it. But for Chinese people to translate, then our English is not good enough. Only before today, when I was preparing for this talk, I realized that a new translation just published this year.
Oh, wow.
And the entire collection, entire book, with 2 volumes, have been translated into English.
Oh.
So this book is very significant to me because it's inspired me to become a storyteller when I was a child. When, again, during the Cultural Revolution, my dad was first locked up, then he was released, but he was suspended from work, and just like so many other intellectuals, and he also had to go to political meetings almost every night. However, at that time, I remember I was about 7 years old. 2 or 3 nights out of, like, in a week, there would be a power outage. So when there was a power outage, he didn't, meetings were canceled. So he got to stay home. And our house was raided twice before this. So I don't know how this book survived the raid, because we had this book, but we had to hide it because this was considered not only banned book, but also a prison poison weights. Like let's say that this book is poison somehow. Will poison young people's mind. Anyway, so during these nights, my father would take out the book from its hidden place, and we would draw our curtains and light a single candle, and my mother, my father, and I would huddle around the candle, and my father would read the stories from the book and translate it from ancient Chinese to modern Chinese.
Oh, wow.
So that's my earliest memory of storytelling. Like before that time, Chinese parents way back when they don't tell stories to their children, at bedtime. No such tradition. And but that was the very memorable moments in my life. Actually, I got to listening to those stories from my father, and from that time, I think my love to the stories, to the spoken words, was fostered, was started from that time. And then after that, yeah, when I learned to read, I started to try to read everything I can find, read the stories myself, and then start to tell my friends, tell other kids the stories I have read or I have heard. So that's the before the writing me. That was a storytelling story.
That's great. What did your father teach? Like, was he was a professor?
He was a professor, but he taught botany. Again, it was science he was teaching and researching. But he loved the Chinese literature.
Okay.
Yeah, he loved the Chinese literature and history.
Okay, and he taught botany, and so more of a scientist, would you say, or more of like it's more about agriculture? But
He was a scientist.
okay,
The old generation of Chinese intellectuals, they when I say the old generation, I mean they received their university education before 1949, and many of them actually also very good at poetry and Chinese literature, and so they also, many of them, they, even though they're scientists, they can write poems. Like it was not uncommon for those scientists to write the poems, and my father was one of them.
No, well, like for example, I know a little bit about that, about the sort of about the scholar, right? In the sense of, so for 15 years here in Hong Kong, I worked with a very successful business person. Like like but and then after retiring, he went into painting and also writing, and so he was like, yeah. So this idea of a fully rounded scholar, right? When was the last time you read from the book?
From this book?
Yeah.
Oh, that was years ago. That was years ago. Yeah. Because before the entire book was translated into English, I've been telling my friends, I said, one day when I finished all the writing, all the books I wanted to write, then I'll try to translate this book. But now it's been translated.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but look, your hands are still full, right? Because you have 2 more books coming up. So do you have, is part 2 coming out soon? Like how's that evolving?
The second book is finished, but I'm still looking for a publisher.
Okay, and so right now, what's your writing practice? Like, are you working on your 3rd book? What are you doing in terms of because writing is a craft, right? So it's something you keep doing. So
yeah, I'm still fine tuning the second book, and I'm trying to find time to translate the first book. And I also work for a time.
Right.
So I'm still, like writing doesn't, at this stage, writing doesn't fit me, so I have to work.
Sure. No, of course.
Another job.
I understand that completely. Yeah. Okay, so the first photo was of you dancing. The second photo was of you holding your published book. So the world of the author. The third photo was of the horse. And now we're looking at this last image, which is the cover of this important book that put the seed or the the passion of writing into you, right? Or
That's
storytelling.
correct.
So if life is a narrative, you know, and if it is, and right now what you've done is you've curated this story. So why don't you talk about what is the bigger picture? Is there a bigger picture linking this all together, or are these just sort of facets or sides of who you are and how you tick, how you live, how you think?
I think there's a big picture. Or I think it may be God's design for me to come to this point in my life, because I used to blame God that the things I want, um, I don't have them, like a family, kids. I feel really bitter about it,
Mm,
and why other people have all this, but not me. But I think in recent years, I start to realize that sometimes the pain and the suffering could be a gift in disguise. Without the suffering of the three generations, I won't be able to write this trilogy. And my next trilogy will be based in Canada. It will be like my own story.
mm-hmm.
And again, without all the pain and the suffering I have gone through, the I don't know how I'm going to write the book, or if the book will become um, successful or can resonate from other people, right? I think as human being, when we share vulnerability, it brings us close.
Yep.
Um, you know, if you just sail through the life, everything works out for you. You have everything, you have it all, so-called have it all. Those stories are not touching. They're not going to move the readers.
Mm,
So I think also, hopefully, my book and with many other really, really good books, they will bring hope to human being,
right.
despite of the suffering, of the pain, of the horrible things we have experienced. I think there has to be hope. When you have hope, when you have, as you said, when you put meaning in life, like now, the meaning of my life is to finish all the books I wanted to write. That gave me hope. That um, gave me the strength to move on, to be alive, basically.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing, for making yourself vulnerable. I really appreciate it. I will meet you halfway there, or I'll meet you there as well with my own sort of vulnerability. In that, you know, coming to Hong Kong was a massive adventure. Working with Po Chung, which is the business leader, massive
Okay.
adventure. Then with the pandemic, Po became very sick, and then my income kind of dissolved. So my marriage kind of fell apart, and yeah,
Sorry.
so right now I'm in that kind of time of finding the next stage, right? A new mission, a new, and you know, the podcast really is part of how I make meaning in my life, you know, like sharing other people's stories.
This is a wonderful thing you're doing, like absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
And also remember, this too shall pass, right?
Whew, yeah. Yeah, from people who know. Okay,
Yeah.
Tonga, like, you know, thank you so much for your time. Do you want to say anything else? Like, you want to add one more thing? So, actually, the name of your book, one more time.
The house filler.
The House Filler, yes. Definitely, I'm so happy that you actually sat down and did it and didn't have some ghostwriter come live with you for a year.
I know. I know. I'm glad I did it. Um, yeah, I just want to say that to my readers or audience out there, if you have read my book, I really appreciate if you can leave a review either on Amazon, Goodreads,
For sure.
anywhere, Barnes and Noble, and Indigo, Walmart, Kobo. My books are available.
You don't have to name all of them, but yeah, but it's great. No, for sure. Leave a
Yeah.
review for sure, especially if it helped move their understanding of the world.
Of course, yeah. And I also, it's a way for me to gather feedback.
Sure.
And next thing is I just want to say thank you for the
Oh.
opportunity. Thank you for having me.
And thank you, Tong Ge. Thank you very much.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
Oh, baby, I like